The film begins with a group of miners carrying out their duties, but one of them becomes so frightened that he flees from the mine upon encountering Tai Long, one of the most powerful adversaries. Tai Long has returned, intent on reclaiming what is rightfully his. He spares no lives, reducing the entire place to ashes. Meanwhile, Mr. Ping, Po's stepfather, expresses his usual concern for his son's safety, while Li Shan reassures him that their son will be fine. Concurrently, we witness Po engaging in combat with a flying stingray by the lake, taking to the skies to overcome his new adversary. Po successfully defeats the stingray and rescues 3 piglets. Upon returning to the valley, Shifu attempts to engage him in a conversation of importance. However, Po opts to attend the opening of a new restaurant inspired by his heroic deeds, prompting Shifu to insist on a discussion. They proceed to the Jade Palace, where Shifu reveals to Po the necessity of training a new dragon warrior in the Valley of Peace. Po is tasked with observing several candidates demonstrate their skills, though he harbors a preference for himself. Shifu then instructs Po to meditate in preparation for identifying his successor. During his meditation, Po finds himself repeatedly distracted. Suddenly, a fox sneaks into the Jade Palace. Clearly, she is a thief, attempting to pilfer precious items. Po intervenes, fulfilling his duty. He is astonished by her skills, unlike anything he has seen in a while. Despite her resistance, Po, being the dragon warrior, prevails. He apprehends the fox and swiftly incarcerates her. However, Po receives alarming news shortly thereafter. Ruba Buffalo informs him that Tai Long has resurfaced and is wreaking havoc on the town, vowing to cease only upon witnessing the dragon warrior bowing before him. Suspecting the fox may possess pertinent information, Po visits her in prison. She demands incentive for cooperation, prompting Po to urge her to divulge details swiftly due to Tai Long's imminent threat. The fox hints at her desire to deflect blame onto Tai Long. Who is she? She is known as the Empress of Disguise, capable of assuming any form, mimicking any shape, and mastering deception. She is none other than the Chameleon. The Chameleon, a formidable shape-shifting sorceress, is believed by the fox to have assumed Tai Long's identity. Where can she be found? The fox asserts that locating the Chameleon without her assistance is futile. Po is compelled to release the fox in exchange for her cooperation in locating the Chameleon. As they embark on their journey, the fox introduces herself as Zhen. Word spreads rapidly, sparking discussions about the Chameleon's capabilities. Meanwhile, crime bosses convene under the guise of the Crack. While lamenting their loss of control over the city's affairs, they contemplate uniting against the Chameleon. Master Crack warns of her shape-shifting abilities, cautioning that she may be present among them undetected. To their astonishment, the Crack transforms into the sorceress herself, issuing a warning regarding increased tributes. Later that night, Po's fathers, sensing the impending danger, joined forces to aid their son. Meanwhile, Po and Zhen navigate their way to the Universe City, seeking the Chameleon's lair. Their journey leads them to a bar, frequented by criminals, where they secure passage from a boat captain. As negotiations ensue, Po observes Zhen enjoying a lavish meal, the spoils of her gambling victories. Despite their best efforts to avoid conflict, they find themselves under attack by the criminals. In the ensuing skirmish, Po defends himself. He activates the power of Staff of Wisdom Master Oogway gave him, and he defeats them all in one strike. The building collapses, but luckily, Po and Zhen land on the very boat that is to take them to the Universe City. Po finds out that Zhen is an orphan. It wasn't easy for her, so she had to survive any way she could, which is by stealing stuff, until one day a local took her in, placed a roof on her head, gave her food to eat, and trained her on how to fight. Meanwhile, the crime bosses meet the Chameleon to pay the tributes she requested, but she sends them back to get her more. Her soldiers produce weapons, which she plans to use to take over the world. Zhen tells him they already arrived at the Universe City. As soon as Po enters the city, he falls in love with it because of the wonderful smells of food everywhere. But the city isn't as amazing as it used to be because the Chameleon is now in charge of it. She has been forcefully taking gold from the citizens. In due time, we find out why. Po notices that Zhen is quite famous in the city, but she lets him know it's not for a good reason. She is the most wanted criminal. Just as they head to the Chameleon's chambers, the law enforcers chase after Zhen as a wanted criminal, and they also chase Po as a suspect for being an accomplice for the criminal. It's a really long chase, but the enforcers lose trace of them, and Zhen leads Po to a secret place underground. The people in this place are not just her friends, but Chen says that they are like a family to her. They don't seem welcoming, they bring out their blades to punish Zhen for leaving them. She introduced them to Po as the Dragon Warrior, but they have no idea what that means. Just as Po is about to kick to defend himself, he remembers what Master Shifu told him, that there are other ways to peace other than kicking butts. He then quotes a word of wisdom to try and make peace between them, but it turns out to be the word of foolishness and it worsens the matter. Meanwhile, Mr. Ping and Li are on a journey looking for Po. Ping enters that same bar Po once attacked, and when the criminals find out he is related to the dragon warrior, they decide to finish him off. Li Shan thinks of a way to save him and finally gets an idea. He enters the bar acting all-powerful and claiming he was the one who trained the dragon warrior, but the only difference between him is that he shows no mercy to his opponent. His plan works as they were all afraid of him and they told him the path Po took. Zhen and Po are busy practicing on a way to take down the chameleon in a single strike. He plans to use the Staff of Wisdom to trap her and then use the finger hold to send her to the spirit world. As soon as training was over, Zhen and Po sneak inside Chameleon's castle from the back door. All of her soldiers are asleep, which means they can easily enter the chamber as long as they don't make a single sound. But quietness isn't a thing for Po. A single smelly fart from him wakes up the soldiers. They succeed in entering after a prolonged pursuit, but Po falls into a trap. Offering Zhen his staff to aid in breaking the cage, he discerns Zhen's true allegiance. He realizes Zhen is no other than an apprentice of the sorceress, who readily accepts the staff. Po learns that 10 years prior, when the sorceress passed with her guards, young Zhen attempted theft but was apprehended. Impressed by Zhen's fearlessness, the sorceress took her under her wing. She reveals to Po her own aspirations of becoming a kung fu master, thwarted by rejection from training halls, citing her size and fate misalignment with kung fu. Hence, she embraced sorcery. With access to the spirit realm, she plots to steal Tai Lung's kung fu and others, seeking invincibility. Po endeavors to break free, but the sorceress' sorcery-bound cage thwarts him. Opting to go beneath it, he encounters further peril, besieged by thousands of soldiers. Though he escapes, but Chameleon, disguised as Zhen, hurls him off the building. Zhen, remorseful for the harm to Po, is reminded of the street's harsh truth: someone always suffers. Po clings to life on a tree, saved by both his fathers. Feeling disillusioned and betrayed, he questions their motives and regrets misplaced trust. Reflecting on Master Shifu's counsel, he laments not remaining in the Valley of Peace, where the sorceress wouldn't have seized his staff. Dad reassures him, affirming his actions were for the city's good. With time dwindling until the blood moons rise and the sorceress plan to access the spirit world, Po races against time. As the blood moon ascends, the sorceress conjures Tai Lung, seeking his legendary skills. Despite Tai Lung's will, she traps him and an angry Tai Lung decimates Chameleon's guards. Attempting to deprive Chameleon of her kung fu, Tai Lung succumbs to her in his own form. She proceeds to siphon the kung fu of every master in the spirit world. Recognizing the sorceress' peril, Zhen seeks to amend her error, intercepting Po on his path to the Chameleon Palace. Despite her pleas for forgiveness, Po remains wary, unwilling to trust her anew. Zhen obstructs his path, fearing his confrontation with Chameleon's might. Though mismatched, she implores him not to risk his life, ultimately embracing him and urging his departure while she stands guard. Po's dads are concerned because he's about to confront the sorceress and her army alone, but Zhen proposes gathering their own army to assist him. They rally all their friends to battle the sorceress's forces. Meanwhile, Po finally faces Chameleon, demanding his staff back. To his surprise, she relinquishes it, having already extracted what she needed. Despite attempting to advise Chameleon with words of wisdom, Po gets hit in the belly and he resorts to following his instincts and engaging in combat. Chameleon utilizes the abilities of various masters through shapeshifting, presenting a formidable challenge. Zhen intervenes to aid Po, resulting in a 2-on-1 confrontation. Chameleon combines the skills of multiple masters into one formidable form, leaving Po seemingly outmatched. After being defeated and trapped, Po entrusts Zhen with the staff to combat Chameleon. Zhen emerges victorious with the Staff of Wisdom. However, Chameleon attempts a sneak attack during their celebration, only for Po to ultimately vanquish her with the staff, restoring the kung fu of all the masters. Po's true potential, as recognized by Master Oogway, is affirmed, and all the masters, including Tai Lung, pay homage to him before returning to the spirit world. Back at the Jade Palace, Po selects Zhen as his successor as the Dragon Warrior, and the Furious Five arrive to train her. The end. If you've enjoyed this recap, kindly subscribe to support this channel.